All systems go. Cleared for takeoff.
What's up, everyone? Tyler Tamboline here, a.k.a. ToeTagginTambo, back for another edition of the Main Slate Show this week, Week 5, here on the Mayo Media Network. If you're just joining us, as always, looking for those fastest 100 likes. Almost at 50 already. We appreciate the early likes. Get in there. Looking to give away $400 to $500 today. We'll tell you how to do that in just a little bit. Got my guys here with me, as always, Hoop and Title. Everyone asked about the internet. Got to say a couple things first. One, Title has great internet. I have a little bit of there's like an offset Hurricane Felipe. I don't know what this one's called, but it's coming off the coast. Little bit of wind, so mine's been in and out, but hopefully it sticks with us and you got me good now. Hoops always got good internet except that one time. So we'll see. Hoopster should be okay. And then really quickly too, happy Thanksgiving to all my Canadian friends and watchers. I'm a big American Thanksgiving fan with my boys here. I like to watch it on Thursday, watch all those games, but it's Canadian Thanksgiving this weekend and we got football games here for Week 5. Hoopster, bring you in, man. We're ready to go. Going to be a big day. I'm excited for this one. This is a great slate.
Yeah, it's a good slate. Definitely looking forward to it. Just one question on the Canadian Thanksgiving. Is it the same sort of thing as like American? Like you do the same like traditions, or is it different?
Which name a few and I'll say. Like we cook the turkey.
Turkey, yeah, and all that stuff.
Yeah,
be lazy, watch football.
Yeah. If it's on a Sunday, yeah, we're watching football. But just want to say we got to, that's today. Usually it could be on a random thing, but we, Monday's the holiday, and some people celebrate it on the Monday.
Same sort of thing then, essentially.
Yeah.
But minus like football, locked in football tradition.
Yeah.
Little do you know, I don't know if you know this, me and Title shared Thanksgiving together, 2 years ago at the Cowboys game. A lot of fun.
Blessed.
Yes.
Yeah. I love the slate too. Like I said, I live vicariously through my American friends. I always enjoy it. I've even had Friendsgivings on American Thanksgiving where we all get together, football drinks, and do our turkey on that day, and people just think we're completely ridiculous. Like, what are you doing? That was last month. That's what they treat it like.
Yes. In terms of this slate, I think it's a good one. I mean, it's very solid. I think a lot of potential plays here at every position. I think there's some really good leverage points that we'll get to when we start breaking down the games. I mean, you can kind of see where people are going, but a lot of it's going to be spread out, I think. I mean, there's a lot, I'd say 8 to 10 running back plays that you can consider today, which is, more than we've normally seen. I think quarterback's pretty wide open. Like there's not like a standout slam dunk play based on value. So I think it's a wide open slate, which should lead to spread out ownership, which should lead to an opportunity for us to, build some of these lineups and get to the top of the leaderboard. I'm really looking forward to this slate. I think it's a fun one. And like I put in the chat, I think we're going to have some success today over here at SHIPIT Nation.
Yeah, last week was a big week from starting on Showdown on Thursday for SHIPIT Nation, leading right up to Sunday. Had some big ships there. Our guy Keith Craps got his second live FanDuel seat. There was a lot of other big wins. Post them all out on our Twitter/X, whatever you want to call it. But you can go there at SHIPIT Nation. Check all that out. Title, bring you in with the good Title with the good internet. That's the new nickname. What's happening, man? How you doing?
Yeah, I won't have to be tilting that anymore. Good internet today, but 10 games. On the slate. So a little less Week 5, bye week starting to hit. It's the Lions, the story of the slate. Without Jameson Williams on a snap count, he's back, but no Amon-Ra, no David Montgomery. So the Lions are the story of the slate. Outside of them, really not much value. It's an interesting slate. It's a fun one for sure. You can pay up at quarterback with good options. You can pay down. A lot of different roster construction ways. Excited to talk some football as always.
Yeah, it's going to be good. Hoop, I think you said it best. Like, the running back, when we get there's a lot to talk about there. But even at the quarterback position, what's crazy is, to Title's point that he just brought up, we got a London game that started 20 minutes ago. We've got the other setup of all the other games, the Island games. So it's only 10-game slate. They did separate it nicely, 6 and 4. So we got lots of action, lots of late swap options. When we talk about this slate, there's a lot of games in the afternoon that actually have good pieces. But just overall, Hoop, there's a lot of good plays. Quarterback options that then lead to stacks. There's some I don't want to say overowned, but there's some heavy chalk in some certain places. We'll talk about if maybe they're overowned when we get there. But give me your grand scheme overview, Hoop. First thoughts coming into the slate, where you think we're going to need to go, things you're seeing how this slate shapes out.
Yeah, I mean, I think the one thing that kind of definitely stands out, there's not many throwaway games. We'll start talking through the games every week, and we'll get to a game and be like, yeah, this one, yeah, I'm fine just having no exposure to. I mean, there's a couple of not super appealing games, but I think there's still pieces for the most part in every game that we can look to get exposure to. And then, like you said, the 4 p.m. Eastern games all have viable fantasy options and could get better. I mean, we have a big piece of news in the 4 p.m. Eastern hour as well, Javonte Williams, whether or not he's in. Now, it's not as big because we have so many good running back plays this week at fair price points. But, it provides some pivot opportunities. If you're looking, if you're playing from behind, we know where the popular plays are going to come from in the afternoon, and there's just a lot of opportunity on this slate. And again, really looking forward to it. A lot of plays at every position, and nothing just stands out as like the clear play. I mean, David Montgomery on DK, I think probably the highest owned guy on the slate, I'd imagine, but I think there's opportunities with that situation too, which we'll get to when we talk about the Lions game, but it's a wide open slate as I see it.
Yeah, almost at the first 100 likes, you guys. Before I bring Title in for his thoughts and overview, just to remind you guys how it works, we give away $100 to somebody random right out of the gates. We give away $100 to a member at the halfway point, and then $100 or $200 if we get to the 500 likes at the end to somebody random that's watching. This week, we have one of last week's winners, Drea, our girl. It was her birthday. She won the $100. She chose to pay it forward. She's already a member. She's in, I believe, for the 6 months over at SHIPIT Nation. So if you want to be like Drea, go to shipitnation.com. You guys can get in right now. If you want a discount, you can use promo code MAYO. MAYO gets you 10% off monthly right through the annual. And on top of that, you will get in the Discord with that. If you want to just check us out for this weekend, you can do so. The trial, $19, gets you more than the weekend. It gets you a full 5 days of all the content. Golf is back now, MMA, all these different things. But this does not get you in the Discord. And if you're just going to buy it today for today and tomorrow, you're paying almost $10 a day. If you do the monthly with code MAYO, it's like $14 for the week. So just to keep that in mind, I mean, you're averaging it out. You're paying a little bit more upfront, but getting a lot more value. But we are going to try and give away $500 today. We've crossed the 100 likes. Title, go to you. Maybe echoing some of what Hoop said, but what are your thoughts on the slate? First thing that you're seeing, grand scheme overview.
Yeah, the main thing is the Lions news, like I mentioned at the pre-show. Amon-Ra and Jahmyr Gibbs, with them both out, a lot of these Lions are underpriced. The story of the slate. There is some other value in some spots too. Wendell Robinson, some concentrated ownership is how I'm seeing it. But yeah, I think it's a very fun slate because there's Hurts, there's Mahomes, there's Tua, there's good pay-up options at quarterback, but also salary is pretty tight too, and a lot of, like I said, concentrated ownership if you are punting. So plenty of ways to get different. Another thought, a good amount of dome games on the slate and not much weather to worry about. People always like hearing that up front. I'm not looking or docking any weather games. And like I said, plenty of dome games, 12 games, pretty good slate. No T. Higgins too. It's like the Bengals, Mixon, Chase, some concentrated spots that injuries have affected. But yeah, it's a great slate is how I'm seeing it. Plenty of ways to get different.
Yeah, we're going to get to the games here in a second. And Hoop, you can look up for the first $100 giveaway. By the way, our guy Tweezy says it's an ugly stack game day. Shout out Tweezy, who's first in today again. He's always out here supporting us. Appreciate Tweezy. He said that it's an ugly stack game day. I think that's the key component as well. There's a lot of stacks. If you don't like hearing about ugly stacks, you're probably in the wrong place. There's going to be ones that come up. We do the review show every week on the SHIPIT Nation YouTube station. Nades, myself, and sometimes the guys from Line Star hop in, Tyler from there, where we break it down. You're seeing a lot of these skinny stacks win it with a cheap guy. The others, we're going to preview our stack rankings in a little bit. We've got some surprises there for you. So we'll see what some of those stacks look like. But just going back to it, Hoop, do you have our first $100 winner as we approach 150 likes? Definitely the fastest 100 ever. Let's try and get to the fastest 200. What do you got, Hoop?
What's the old saying? The early bird gets the worm, right? You get out there when that rain starts and then you're the first bird, digging through the lawn. Hopefully not my lawn. I don't want the birds digging through my lawn, but you get in there and, you get that first worm, and the first 100 is going to our guy Tweezy, just getting the show started for us in here. Says he's ready to roll. First man, Tweezy's been our guy. He's been supporting us. We appreciate his support, and we want to, give him $100 to put into some action here today. So Tweezy.
Oh, let's go, Tweezy. And not in almost 20 minutes early, by the way. Talk about being pumped up, getting the chat fired up as always. Shout out, congrats to Tweezy. That's awesome to see. Excited for you. There's $100, man. Put it to good use. Have a fun day with that. Shout out to our guy, member 701 DFS. Stack rankings looking juicy as always. That's where you get it started. I think that's where a lot of what we're going to be talking about gets started when we break it down. But Title, anything else you want to bring up before we get into it? If not, man, you could take us into this Tennessee Indy game to get things popping.
Yeah, no additional thoughts, really. Another game starting it off in a dome game, 43.5 total. So not the biggest total there. As far as comes to stacks, like someone already mentioned, can I throw on the Tannehill jersey? Can we roll the Tannehill stack? I don't think it's the craziest thing. Obviously, he's very cheap. And I do prefer, if I do stack this game, it would be with the Tannehill side. He's 4.9K, plenty of spend ups on the slate. DeAndre Hopkins is by far my favorite target, 5.7K, still mispriced. Just missed out on a big one last week as well. The upside's there, 100 plus, definitely in the realm of possibilities. 2 touchdown upside in a dome. D-Hop, way underpriced on this slate, by far my favorite. Titans D is definitely a big talking point. One of the chalkiest on the slate at 2.4K. Richardson can make a lot of mistakes, can take a lot of sacks. I mean, in tournaments, like a clear defense, I'll let you guys mainly talk about that. It's not going to be a Bill situation where I'm getting like 40% or anything like that. They're probably going to come in, roughly 20. I assume I'll probably be at 10, 15, a little underweight there. But definitely want to hear your thoughts on Titans defense today. Outside of them, yeah, Traylon Burks is still out, which is why I like D-Hop so much. I think Chig is fine at tight end, full punt, 3.2K. It's not very exciting by any means, though. I guess the other option is Derrick Henry. We talked about it last week. No one's really going to be playing Derrick Henry. The Mixons, the Montgomerys, people like saving some money at running back. So you're paying up a little bit to be contrarian. 7,500, you can always break a slate. So it's mainly a one-off D-Hop, a one-off Derrick Henry, a Titans Derrick Henry. If I play the Titans D, give a little bump to Henry there with some correlation. If you're playing a bunch of lineups, you want to throw Tannehill, fine. But probably most people watching 20 teams or less, really just D-Hop, Chig, Derrick Henry as some one-offs.
Yeah, I like that call, though. I'll go to hoop on it, but obviously Titans D picking up the steam. But if there's a way to get different with it, would definitely be that. Also, Shaq Leonard, I believe, is out, right, for Indy. So, you could see we've seen Henry have big games against them in the past. This could be a spot for it to happen. When we get to our stack rankings, something else stands out. But Hoop, give us your thoughts on this one. Tennessee Indy, it's a game I've kind of had a little bit more interest to as the week goes on, just because of Richardson at 7,000. There's options on his side. Pittman, you can talk about the Henry side, all this stuff, but there's some interest for me in this game. What's your thoughts?
Geez, some of these comments, I don't even know what the hell I mean. I think it might be a Derrick Henry sort of day, to be honest with you. I am not a Derrick Henry guy. If you guys have followed me, I rarely play Derrick Henry, but it seems like a pretty good spot for him. They're slight favorites against the Colts. He's had success against them in his career. There's really no spends at the running back position. You have a couple guys. You have Derrick Henry. You have Bijan Robinson, who we'll talk about. Henry's coming in pretty low owned at the running back position, I'd say, and he has the ability to just absolutely nuke it. We've seen it numerous times. Yes, is he the same guy as he was in the past? No, but man, he still has it. I've seen some good runs from him this season. I think it could be a Derrick Henry sort of slate. DeAndre Hopkins for sure. Someone put in there, Hopkins hella washed. It's a different situation. He's got Ryan Tannehill throwing him the football. The reason why we like him is because there's no one else to really throw the football to in this offense. It's him, fine with Chig, but Chig hasn't done shit. We keep playing him. I keep playing him. He just does nothing. But again, the price tags, man, 3.2 for Chig, and then Hopkins is 5.7. At 5.7, he probably just needs to find the end zone. And I think he got a touchdown last week, I believe, and I think he could definitely do it again this week as well. 5.7. So in on Hopkins, Derrick Henry, Chig. Tannehill if you want to, that's fine. I'm just not going to play Tannehill. But I get it if you want to go there. On the Colts side, not as much interest for me. Now they got Jonathan Taylor in the mix. The only play for me, I'd say, on the Colts side is Pittman, and probably won't have much of him. This Titans defense is pretty solid. You play Richardson, maybe in cash games or something, but I'm just not super excited about the Colts side, but I do have a lot of interest in the Titans today.
Yeah, I actually like the chat's going to hate it, but the Hopkins spot, you go Hopkins, Pittman, little mini stack, even these guys can just rack up PPR, and then you don't have to have the conversation around the Tannehills and that. Again, we'll see if you want to when we look at it after, but in general, the $7,500 Henry with the defense even is fine if it's a way that you could use Tennessee's defense at that ownership. That's how I would look at it and use it. But I think JB Knox in here doing the dirty work, man, going and figuring it out. Indiana Hoosier, Nick, what is it?
Nick
Westbrook-Akine. Yeah, he said 4 red zone targets recently. It's a homecoming due to his college ball games here. Maybe, I don't know. Like Tannehill's going to be popping up, so we'll look at that after. But Title, any other thoughts in this one that you had to hear what Hoop said? And then if not, we can move on to New Orleans, New England.
Yeah, it's just not much. It's really Hopkins, Henry. As far as the Nick Westbrook-Akine, I guess if you want to take a really, really milli maker, large field stuff, but there's just other better options and better offenses that are cheap too. Hopkins, Chig, they want to run the football. Like he needs to convert on those. So yeah, 4 red zone targets. I'm not really going to take a shot on it though. Going to this game, Patriots and the Saints, one of the lowest totals on the slates. Not interesting at first look. Alvin Kamara is the big piece, though. Came back. He got 14 targets, 13 catches on 14 targets. Very appropriately priced, 6.3K. Much prefer him on DK than FanDuel. He just fits the scoring much better. Really the only interest I have on that side. And then Patriots D, I think, is also in play. Derek Carr has taken a good amount of sacks this year. Patriots defense, way to get a little different. If most people are going Titans, you pay up a little bit. I think Patriots are in a good spot at home against them as well. But it's Kamara, it's Patriots defense. We're talking pretty hard to cross off some games. Other than that, this is a cross off for me.
Yeah, I like the defenses here. I like Kamara still. I lessened on Kamara since the first look show a little bit, just, seeing some other stuff. But in general, the big thing for me was last week was it was almost like Derek Carr had his Josh Jacobs of last season back, someone who was, competent enough. How do you catch 11 balls for 33 yards? Well, Derek Carr is the answer, just checking it down, and you basically fall in. They know it's coming, but there's not much they can do. See what happens from there. Shout out to Drea. She's in the chat now. We already talked. She's going to be giving away the next $100. We're going to give it away to a member, so we'll get that in a little bit. We just crossed 150 likes, so let's go for 200. If you're just joining us, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. You need to be subscribed to get in the chat. If you haven't checked out the Ship It Nation YouTube channel yet, you can go over and do that. It's just youtube.com/@ShipItNation. All the rest of our free shows, when we get to 4,000 subscribers over there, going to be giving away a 6-month bundle. Hoop, real quick, back in the last game, I don't know if you mentioned it much, but the chat's asking about Jonathan Taylor coming back. Give me your thoughts there, and then take us into New Orleans, New England. Your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I mean, there'll be probably spots this season where we're on Jonathan Taylor, but I mean, first week back, I just don't think it's the spot. Like, just wait. I mean, in the upcoming weeks, there'll be opportunities to play him. We have so many good running backs on this slate, and I just don't think there's any reason to go to Jonathan Taylor. So I think easy fade on the slate. Saints, Patriots. Yeah, it's one of those games. I said most of the games we have plays. There's a couple here, but it's not an appealing game. I mean, a total, it's right around 40. It's not great. I do like the Alvin Kamara thing, like 6.3K, 14 targets, man. Like he literally scored 21 fantasy points and had 80 total yards last week, 81 total yards. Like that's huge upside. If he finds the end zone, he's putting up a big boy score. Carr loves checking down to the running backs like you talked about. Josh Jacobs had that big season last year. 14 targets right out of the gate. Like, I just can't ignore that. The price is too low, and I'm fine on FanDuel as well at 7-1 or 7K flat. He's somewhere right around there. Like, I'm in on Kamara for sure today. It's just such a big floor for a guy like him. And then, like, he finds the end zone, he's likely to smash. On the Patriots side, there's just not much here. Ramondre Stevenson on FanDuel, I think, is fine. 6.1K. I think we kind of talked about it last week. If he finds the end zone, he's paying off that price tag. But I mean, he's struggling to find the end zone. So that's kind of the big problem there. He's a touchdown type guy. So I'll play him on FanDuel, probably not on DK. There's other like PPR guys in his range on DK. In terms of the passing stuff here, Michael Thomas is cheap, fine going to him. But really, I mean, with Kamara back in the swing, I think Thomas is the pass catcher that takes the biggest hit because he's getting a lot of those little underneath type things, and that's most likely just going to Kamara at this point. So don't love him, but he would be the pass catcher I like on the Saints side. And then on the Patriots side, I just don't want anything in the passing game. Both defenses in play here. Kamara would be my favorite skill position player, and then Ramondre Stevenson on FanDuel, where he needs to just find the end zone, which, again, he's been struggling to do.
Yeah, in the chat's mentioned it. Shout out to Andre. Saints D, go opposite of the Patriots. We like both, and we all said it, but that's if you land on that one, or if you want to do something with that. I don't think it necessarily needs to be paired with Kamara. It would be another way to get unique with it. But the Kamara thing, I do want to comment on for 2 seconds more, and then I'll move on to a couple other things just to say it again. People, oh, he's not going to get all those targets again. It's fine. What if he gets 6 targets, but does something with one of them this week? That's where people don't, the mix and match of it. We did this with Keenan Allen, not going to get 20. We did this with Achan, who we're definitely going to talk about later again, but he's not going to get 55 points. He didn't. He got 30 though. How's that sound? It's always my point is like people are looking, it's not going to be the biggest outcome again. Probably not. But even if Kamara gets 6 or 7 targets today, they're all catchable balls that he ends up with. And what if he slips the shoelace tackle this time and takes it for 80 to the house early? Then a lot of people are going to be closing their laptops. So just keep that in mind when you're checking that stuff out. I'm going to bring something else here, Hoop. You can go ahead.
I just wanted to, our guy Black Maths Media said he just subbed to SHIPIT Nation. Thanks for all that you guys do. Appreciate your support. We really do. So thanks for signing up and giving us a chance.
Yeah, let's show some people what they're getting into here when we go with it. I'm going to bring this up now. I'm going to go to the other overlay so you guys can see it. I had the stack rankings up. We told you we would tease it. I'll go one more. Sneak one more in there. Okay, the Chiefs, because I have to talk about this guy later who I never play on the main slate, but it might be the first time ever that I do. But just to note it, Hoop, because we're about to get to this Detroit-Carolina game, I'm going to stay with you. Those Jared Goff stacks popping big time. But back to where was our guy Gary in the chat? He's always out here supporting. Appreciate Gary. But he said 4 TDs for Tannehill, and I'll rake the leaves after Hoop cuts the grass. And look at this. Tannehill.
That sounds like a deal.
Hopkins. There's one of the stacks. So if you guys don't know, on the site, shipitnation.com, all the coverage, it's not just content. We have tons of data, projections, ownership, tools, stack rankings. Click over here. We've got the DVP rankings. Those are easy. Those are standard. All that, yeah. Click over here. Advanced data on the DVP rankings. Everything broken down for you in depth. If you want to dig in, there's lots to do on shipitnation.com besides just look up what Hoop, myself, Title, and the rest of the team are doing. That's a guideline, a baseline. We can't stress this enough. We talk about it all the time, but there's all these sports. MLB, it's playoffs now, but we had it all year. Stack rankings, hitter rankings, pitcher rankings. It's not just core reports. That's there as a guideline. NBA coming up. You'll want to get involved for NBA. Not only do we have the projections that we have more coming on soon, we've got more news when it comes to maybe that education side of things, but ceiling rankings and correlation sheet are tools that you are going to want to have when it comes to it. We're also going to have our guy Rio covering NBA Showdown. PGA is pretty much back for the fall swing. MMA was back this week. Title called a huge upset there with Green last night. Had a lot of people have some big wins out there.
Hell of a call.
Huge call. And then NHL's coming back as well. But Hoop, while we're here, Lions, Cardinals, we'll get to Dobbs later. Burrow still pops up on here. That game pops up on here as the two teams being involved. Titans and Chiefs. Anything you guys see in the chat? Anything you see in general, Hoop?
In regards to the stack rankings here?
Yeah, just of those 5, I'm not going to give it
all. The first thing I'll say is these stack rankings have, some of the top stacks on the slates have shown up right here in this tool. And again, it is not your typical stack tool where it's going to say, hey, play Kirk Cousins with Justin Jefferson and play Tua with Tyreek Hill. Like, that's not what these are about. These show you value sort of rankings. They give you a different look, get you on things that you might not potentially get on. And this tool, like I said, has done a phenomenal job all season long. Again, it's stuff to get you thinking a little bit. It gets you on potentially a different path, a low-owned type path, shows you the ownership over there. Like, for example, the Lions stuff up top, like Raymond's going to get ownership, Laporta, but Goff is coming in at like 2% owned. So, same thing with some of these other ones down here. It's like, you might see some high-owned plays in here, but there's other pieces. Yeah, same thing. Like Hopkins going to get ownership for sure. Chig probably just a little bit, and then Tannehill unowned. So it's it gets you a different look here for sure.
Yeah, I put a couple more in here just for them to see it, but sometimes I think what you said there, Hoop, that was key is that you'll find like a Slayton instead of a Robinson, a Smythe all of a sudden comes out to play when people tried to make it work a couple weeks before. I actually have interest in him. He's a cheap tight end that fits into that game stack if you're going there. Chig might pop up. Marquise Brown. These guys all have mediocre to low ownership where those you can still fit into your lineup. And I'll give it to you here. Just 1 second. I got to find this this comment right quick. Our guy Stewie, when I'm on a show, it's going to be dominated by like 60%. I'm sorry. I can't help it. It's just the way it goes. But we love our guy Title. We actually had him as the only speaker the other day with no camera on the Thursday Night Football Showdown show. We just let him speak. But Title, you talk about these stack rankings some, and then you can take us into this Detroit game because Goff, Raymond, Laporta right at the very top of these stack rankings.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like you don't want to show up and it's just be like, all right, Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson, Kirk Cousins, Travis Kelce. Guess that's not the best example now since the second whoever you're pairing with Mahomes isn't great, but salary is incorporated in this, ownership's incorporated. Like Dobbs is number 2, very interesting. That'll be low owned. I will say one of my stacks is the top 5, so got to head to the core report and check that out. But yeah, it's always a good tool to look at. It's been absolute fire in week 1. Mac Jones, Kendrick Bourne, Hunter Henry almost shipped me the slant that day. So definitely a very nice tool and helps you get different spots.
Yeah, this Detroit-Carolina game is interesting, and I think a lot of it stems from the price points. Obviously, we know Montgomery, but this is the idea, too. You can get some leverage that way if you're not going with Montgomery to be able to play the Goff stack. So, Title, I'll keep it here with you, the Detroit-Carolina game. By the way, Drea, shout out. I actually like that Noah Gray call. You saw Kelce pop in those stack rankings we were just on, but if you want to get a cheap option in there, I got no problem with it. I wouldn't expect a Kelce day, but again, that price is factored in. So it's going to be very interesting to see how it shakes out. Title, go ahead here. Give us your thoughts on Detroit, Carolina, Detroit at home, big favorites.
Yeah, and pretty much a story of the slate, or at least you have to decide on a lot of Lions because Jameson Williams coming back after the gambling suspension, going to roughly only play about 20 plays though. No Amon-Ra St. Brown, no Jahmyr Gibbs. So Montgomery, who's already been the workhorse, is only going to get even more of the work. One of the most popular people on the slate. Khalif Raymond, he's absolutely free, 3.3K, 4.8K on FanDuel, makes a lot work. Going to be out there almost all the time, very popular. Josh Reynolds, going to get some ownership. He's definitely going to be less than Montgomery and Khalif Raymond. Love me some Josh Reynolds in this spot. We'll be out there in all 2 receiver sets, more the downfield guy, 4.2K, another great play. And then there's Sam Laporta at tight end. He's 5K, one of the best tight end plays on the slate. So those 4, by far the best plays, will get the highest ownership. People are going to say, like, how many's too many, all this stuff. Like in small field stuff, I'm good if you want to throw in 3 of them at the price. Laporta 5K, Raymond 3.3, and then Reynolds 4.2, Montgomery 6.6. Their prices make so much work on a slate where the value outside of this game, there's some spots for sure, but it's not. This is by far the most safe spot with upside on this slate. So I'm going to be jamming plenty of these guys as well, mixing and matching. Throwing Goff, as Hoop mentioned, Goff is going to be very low owned, even with all their pieces. Maybe not, maybe 5%, something like that. With all their pieces and how popular they are, Goff is going to be lower owned than you'd expect. The problem is he's 6.3K with no rushing upside. Pretty much needs that 300-yard bonus is how I'm looking at it. Like, I'd rather go up to the Mahomes, the Hurts, the Tuas of the world, or go all the way down as my initial thoughts. So I'm lower on him right now, but I'm going to be mixing in those 4 pieces for sure. Outside of them in this game, really nothing else on that Detroit side. Laporta, Reynolds, Montgomery, Raymond. If anybody else falls into the box but them, definitely going to be tilted over here. As far as the Carolina side, I mean, Thielen's been a beast, 5.1K. Fine, I guess. DJ Chark, the revenge game, going to be unowned if you want to take a shot on that. Probably would only limit that to a run back if I'm playing at least 2 Lions and game stacking it that way, or at least skinny stacking it. Sanders 5.2, he'll be different. I really just don't love this Carolina side, though. Offense has not looked good with Bryce Young. I think Detroit Lions defense could be a little interesting too. But yeah, it's mainly the 4 Lions guys. And I'm curious to hear how you two are going to talk about playing them, getting different with them, stuff like that.
Yeah, almost to 200 likes. If you guys are just joining us, over 400 watching, the next giveaway will be $100 to a member, courtesy of our girl Drea. That's going to happen at 250 likes. So do us a favor. It's easy. Put down the coffee, put down the muffin, do us a favor, hit the like button. Hoop, I got to kick it over to you because this is the thing. If anybody who watched last week, here we go. We're trying it to push it into existence for the 5th straight week here for Hoopster. The optimizer is pushing Detroit guys in. People are trying to take Detroit guys out. Last time this happened, Hoop goes on to push them all into the lineup, everybody from the Detroit game, and win the millie in a big spot.
Suck
so
me
Hoop,
back
we
into
can talk
this
about
shit.
it again. You're due, baby.
Don't suck me back into this shit. It's over. I'm not even responding to that. It's done. It's a new era. We're going for new things. I will say, first piece of Lions gear in a long time, right? Like I have had like no Lions gear whatsoever. The wife goes out. She's like, all right, you need some Lions gear. Sends me this hoodie. It's actually pretty nice. I'm feeling pretty good about this Lions shirt today. Obviously got the
bandwagon fan. Yeah, finally good. He gets some Lions gear in the house.
Yeah. I know. It's I said they have to prove something to me before I get back on board. And
but they proved beating the Packers, that awful Packers team. That's what they proved to you.
Chiefs, baby, beat the Super Bowl champs. I'm back in, man. I'm back in. We'll see. They do have this is easy game. The schedule is easy for them, so they're likely to go to the playoffs. I did bet them to win this division as well, so I'm in, man. Your boy's drinking the Kool-Aid for the first time since he was a youngster. In regards to this game, the Lions are projected to score a good chunk of points here, 27-ish. David Montgomery is the clear play. Like they use him in the red zone. I think they're running it in the red zone more than like any team out there. He's a great play. I'm going to have a ton of him, but this creates, I think, one of those leverage situations that I talked about in the opening. You have all these cheap pass catchers, Josh Reynolds, Khalif Raymond, Laporta is still relatively cheap. They're all going to have high ownership. And then, Goff is not going to have anything at all. Like, could it be Goff? Like, could it be 3 touchdowns that Goff throws, 270 to 300 yards? Yeah, it could be. I mean, David Montgomery, again, I'm going to have a lot of David Montgomery, but he's a guy that could just go out there and look like complete shit, rush it 18 times for like 40 yards, just get absolutely stuffed. The Lions passing game, obviously the pass catchers are going to be popular, but I think, getting some Goff exposure makes a lot of sense in these leverage situations. Lineups that don't have Montgomery, I think it makes sense to look at Goff, and you don't need a ton to get way over the field. The ownership on him is going to be very, very small. So in on Goff, Montgomery, obviously, Reynolds, Raymond, Laporta seems like a phenomenal play. I mean, he's probably their wide receiver 1 today, really, when you look at it. I mean, he's been so good. So Laporta is a strong play. Now, the problem for tournaments, if you're going big on the Lions side, you want to, take a look at some of these Panthers guys, and that's where the fun kind of ends, because there's not many names on this side that you want to click. Thielen's been the guy. I mean, it's hard to get away from him, so I think it's Thielen. But, man, I don't really want to play anyone else on this other side of the ball. I mean, maybe you could make the case for Hurst, but there's so many good cheap tight ends today. I don't want to get overboard on her. So it's just Thielen. In order for the Lions stuff to work, oh man, there it goes. Hurricane whatever is kicked in. We're just having a rough stretch here with internet connections and technology. It is not
tough over here, but at least we got 2 people.
We got a 2-man booth. I'm sure Tambo will be back here at some point, but the weather, technology, internet connections have not been treating us well over the course of the last week. But the information here is going to be solid. I'll promise you that. So yeah, that's the one thing. It's almost like you need the Lions onslaught situation where it's 32 to 10 or something for this playoff, because I just don't think the Panthers have enough to keep it going, and it's tough to click names. I mean, is there anyone else on the Panthers side that you consider playing outside of Thielen today?
I think if you're large field Millie Maker stuff, DJ Chark, I mean, he has the narrative going. They should be playing from behind. He's a big play guy. I think he'd be fine. The Sanders feels tough to click, but if he gets 8 dump downs from Bryce Young, not really at the end of the day. I think you can play Goff, 2 of these guys, and not even run it back from the Carolina side as well. Maybe even throw Lions defense in there too. But yeah, not really. Yeah, people are liking the chart call. Definitely boomer bust, and again, larger field stuff. Zach, it's your time to shine.
Yeah, with Tambo out, with Tambo out in the booth here, there's a lot more words and speaking opportunity to go around. There's no doubt about that. You're going to hear a lot more of title, assuming Tambo doesn't get his connection reestablished.
Yes, you will definitely hear some more. I mean, I will take over the Tambo role and do some hosting. But yeah, no, the Carolina side, not really. Thielen's the play that stands out because he's been so good. But the Chark week would not surprise me one bit. Let's keep it rolling to a very interesting game when we're talking about a big total, or at least on this slate, relatively 47.5. But Dolphins, Giants. Dolphins are 12.5 point favorites. Highest team total on the slate, above 30 for these guys. So we'll talk. I mean, the Dolphin side is very good. The Tyreeks, we got to talk about Devin Achane. And then as far as the other side, no Saquon Barkley. So it's still going to be Matt Breida. I have interest in Tua to Tyreek stacks for sure. I think a chain that he's getting up there in ownership. He's been ran really, really well. He's been so efficient every time he's got it. Mostert's still in the equation. So you see the ownership and you're like, is Mostert hurt or something? No, it's still a split backfield at the price. He's just been so good. Highest team total. They're going to be in the red zone. It's what we're expecting. What are you doing with the chain? And then if you're playing, let's say, a Tua Tyreek, because I'll have plenty of those stacks. I think Tyreek gets loose on the Giants. Wendell Robinson's really the only one that grades out well on the Giants side. Min price $3K. He took over the slot role. Paris Campbell started off. He had most routes coming into the last week. He had the most routes in the slots. Wendell Robinson working back off of injury. He overtook him. Paris Campbell was awful. They mixed up their 3 receiver sets. Hyatt got more work in there as well. Robinson 3K definitely in play. Is there anybody else you see? Can you get to a Matt Breida, Danny Dimes, something like that? Or are you just good Tua Tyreek stacks and just from there? What are your thoughts?
Tough clicks after what we just saw in that primetime game against the Seahawks, where their offense was just incompetent. And, the offensive line was terrible. I don't see how it's improved in this short period of time. What was it 11 sacks, right? 10 or 11 sacks?
Oh, something like that.
Yeah, it was a crazy number.
I stopped counting.
Yeah, it was a massive number. And, again, without Saquon Barkley, I don't know how, this offense is going to improve and become more productive in this short period of time. So it's tough clicks, man. It is very tough clicks. I will say we've been right about the Wan'Dale Robinson thing. We've been talking about him since his return. I believe they're on 2 showdown slates, and in the game he came back, like we said, take a look at this guy. He's been their guy on offense, which isn't saying much because this offense has been complete dog shit, but he's been their guy and they're forcing action to him, and he's only 3K. We talked about him for the showdown slate. Going to love him here again today. They're likely playing from behind. They're 12.5-point underdogs here, and rightfully so. So a lot of short stuff should go to him. 3K, it does not take much to pay off that price tag, but outside of him, it is a tough click, man. And then like Darren Waller, just not using him, giving him the, bringing him over and just not even using him. When you're under pressure, a lot of times these quarterbacks will go to tight ends. And I know he's been getting crushed back there, but Daniel Jones is not helping himself out at all. Like he's just holding on to the ball, running into defenders. And then, on the Dolphins side, I think we have some more leverage situations that we can take advantage of. We talked about A-Chain. He's been phenomenal. He is making the most of his opportunities. And why is it him at X%? He's going to be highly owned. And then Mostert is like unowned today. Like Mostert could be the guy that scores the 2 touchdowns today at low ownership. So I think people are just forgetting that this is a split backfield. It definitely is. This could be the Mostert game at low ownership. Tyreek's going to be owned. Jalen Waddle, probably not much ownership, especially on DK at 7.5. FanDuel, the price is much cheaper at 6.8, so I think he does pick up some ownership over on FanDuel. But Waddle, 7.5K on DK is going to be, single-digit ownership. I think he's a clear option. You can play Smythe at tight end. And then Tyreek's like a no-brainer. You have to imagine like he's going to have some big even if this game is a blowout, he's going to have some big opportunities in the first half. I just don't see how they slow him down. He's also a phenomenal play along with Tua, but good leverage opportunities here, I think, with Mostert and Waddle specifically. So that's kind of where I'm at on this one. We have our guy back, Tambo. We've been the technology, the internet connections. It's been a rough stretch, but I feel confident that's going to lead to some winners today.
Do you want to know what's crazy too? These guys are saying it. It actually wasn't even the Wi-Fi or the weather. It was
the camera, right?
It was just the camera. So I actually heard everything everybody said about me. I still saw the chat. I seen it all. I guess we'll have to move back, take a step back. I'm not as well liked around here as I thought. I'm just kidding, of course. It was good. I liked you guys' breakdown there, going through it, getting back into it. We always stay right on track. You know that. But almost at 220 likes. Let's keep it going. We're going to give away that next $100 at 250. I was just going to say that late in the week, I know that he's popular now or whatever, Tua, but just, started making more lineups that way. I really think Robinson, for me, is just better either within those stacks or the secondary, but I just don't really love him as a one-off. Talked with Mayo on Friday about him. Obviously, it's for roster construction. He's to make things work. If he's the 3K guy that gets 12 to 15, which he can, then you're going to just have better lineups. You're going to have options that you can fit in there and make things work that others could not. But I like to like overstack this spot. And in smaller fields, I could actually roll out as many as 5 Miami pieces, including the defense. And I still could have Wanderlei Robinson in that lineup because it doesn't matter. He's 3K. He's not hurting the defense or whatever. So, Title, I'm not sure. Did you have more on that or anything else you wanted to add there?
Well, I guess my question would be, who are your 5? Because like I take you're not doing the Mostert to chain, like the double running back there. I like Tyreek for sure. Waddle, like he's 7.5. It just feels too expensive. I get the pivot. Like outside, where are you going as your 5? Defense, I definitely agree. I love the defense in this spot as well. But
yeah, and there's lineups too. Somebody asked earlier a question. I try and answer the questions as I go throughout too. That's where some of the extra talking comes in. But they said, what's your uniques for your lineups? And honestly, usually I do play like 3 or more in NFL main slates. But today there's like 1v1s where I'm just pulling Achane and putting Mostert. Like Hoop just said, it's the ownership doesn't make sense why it could be that. So like again, but to answer your question, Title, Tua, one of those running backs, Tyreek, Smythe, who I mentioned earlier. I love wasting a good onesie position on something. And who cares? Like a tight end to me is not nearly as strong as running back, wide receiver, and quarterback, which quarterback leads to those receivers. We just have a ton of options, a plethora, if you will, of quarterback, running back, wide receiver options. Tight end, there's a bunch of guys. Yeah, but I'm saying like it's more so that spot where if it's not a big Kelsey day, shit, I said earlier, I'm willing to play Noah Gray with my girl Drea. So it's like that's the spot where if I just want to bury a spot, I'll do it. And then I can even put in the Miami D. And it was Dre who asked about that. Smaller field contests, I'm talking like 250 or less, higher dollar, smaller buy-in. Usually these King of the Beach qualifiers, things like that. Just nobody's going to overcommit. They're going to play a cash lineup or something along those lines where they have a few of these pieces. And then they're happy that Miami's going off and wondering like, oh shit, I only got 3 pieces from that game. I needed 6. That's what can happen. So I'm okay with it. I'm not doing that in all my lineups. I'm just saying that's where I'm at with it. Achane is tough because the fact of the efficiency and, Ahmed was back last week. He's the guy that got sort of the back of the bench and said, we're just going to play Mostert and Achane and it's fine. But Mostert still got his opportunities. So like Hoop said, for it to be like a 3-1 or maybe even a 4-1 ownership split, it does seem pretty crazy, right?
Yeah, it's going to be big.
It'd be more of a split. More ownership split than the split will be in the backfield. Like a chain out snapped him by 10.
Right. That's a good way to
game
put
also got out of hand too.
Yeah, I like that.
Good way to put it, yes.
Anything else within this one, guys? If not, I think we can move on. I don't know if I missed this part. I was messing with the camera a little bit, but I don't think we did Houston, Atlanta, right?
Nope,
we did
That's
not.
Up next, yeah.
All right, Title, I'll let you kick this one off, man. I've been getting shit on all week for the Kyle Pitts $3,300 price point and saying that it's not that crazy. But again, then I saw a video yesterday that was kind of intriguing just to, think this through. They showed like 2 or 3 plays where he was just like falling down. And then someone mentioned about his knee injury being maybe more than what you think. And like, hopefully he's okay and all this. So I don't know, but $3,300. Give me your thoughts on that one.
He should be $1,300. I still don't even know if I clicked the freaking name.
Yeah.
I mean, what a disaster. What a disaster. Sad too. If you're playing someone on Atlanta, Bijan Robinson looks like the guy. Drake London, yes, screw him too. So Bijan, complete stud. His work rate's going up every single week. The dude he's as electric as it gets. I mean, one of the best running backs in the league at just week 1 and week 2. Like Algier is pretty much a 50-50 split. Now that it's not, he's the highest priced running back on the slate. If people do spend up at running back, I think they go Bijan, which is why like the Derrick Henry pivot for 200 less, we did like a lot. I still don't think Bijan's going to be out. Like I'm going to play Bijan. I'm not worried about the ownership. People do like saving some. Mixon, Montgomery, other ownership spots, a chain we just talked about. So Bijan on the Atlanta side, otherwise not really much interest as far as the Houston side. So yeah, people are in here talking like Zach Wilson cheap stacks to get whatever you want, stuff like that. CJ Stroud, he's not even cheap anymore. He's 6K, but I just love the pass catchers because they're cheap. Nico Collins been an absolute beast, 5.6K. Robert Woods at 4K. So even though Stroud's a little more expensive than I want, I'm going to be playing some CJ Stroud stacks. I think he's going to be very low owned, easy pass catchers with Woods or Collins. And I'm also throwing, I think Dalton Schultz isn't the craziest play at 3.4K. Similar to what you said about Smythe. If you're playing Tua, you just hope he falls in the box. You get correlation at a bad position. But it's Woods and Collins I love. I like some CJ Stroud, Bijan on the other side, and it's mainly those 4 on targeting.
Yeah, I like that. And my guy, if you didn't know, yes, I do. But it's putting the tournament GPP fields in a body bag with the toe tag. Yes, that's where it comes from. Big fan of the DFS world. It actually stems from, and I talked about this on previous shows, in the past, but those that know Head Chopper, always was a big Head Chopper fan back in the day. I really like that name.
Love Head Chopper.
I wanted to convert my name, and people don't know this story. It's a little quick one, but you still aren't allowed to change your DK name. People can hate me for this, but I had to beg them. I said, oh, like it's personal. Like you can't have your personal name. I have my last. I was like, it's all like you can't do it. This is way back in the day. And they let me change it over to match my FanDuel name, where I'd copied that as a big fan of my guy Head Chopper. So we've tried to put this together. That's really just a quick thing, marketing piece of what SHIPIT Nation is all about. What we try and offer, everything you need to have success with DFS. We've talked about this in the past, Hoop and I, when we first kicked this thing off. But I really was back in the day on Roto Grinders. Hoop was freaking working there, but I was looking for ways to get a hold of people, to get involved in a community, to find things out, to get what I need to win at this game before trophies and 100K scores and live finals and any of that. I was looking for the place, and I had to go on the forums and hit up. And I still love my guy Head Chopper, but I don't think he got back to me back in the day. Probably a busy guy in his games, things like that, but it didn't work. But I really am a big fan of the game, fan of the industry. When we put together SHIPITNation.com, that's really what it was all about. Finally being able to take all of our collective experience, put it into a site of our own, create ideas, market it our way, do things our way to try and give back to people. And one of those things was the price, right? Hoop, we talked about this, but the price of not being, pay less for your content, play more DFS contests. It's expensive out there to buy projections, ownership for different sports. Then you got to go get an optimizer. Then you got to go get all these other, now you got to get Sims tools, all of that. So Hoop, I'll let you talk outside of story time a little bit on that, and then you can give us your thoughts on this Houston.
I'll add 5 seconds of story time. I wish, Tambo, you got to talk to my rep, because I try to do that personal BS, my last names and my DK username and all that. And yeah, they were not having that one.
I think years ago you would have had better opportunity to change.
Smaller world back then. You won't get it nowadays.
I know. No chance.
Ross, that's where Tambo's a genius. He takes story time and transitions it into a marketing piece. And the reason he started with story time, because he's got to catch up for the lost time. Like, Tambo is sitting on the sidelines with that camera out, just irking. Like, man, I got to get in there. I got to catch up on that word. I got to catch up on that word count. Like, I can't let them, surpass me in the number of words spoken on the show. But again, marketing genius, he takes that transitions it into a marketing piece, which I agree with. Cheapest all in price. That has always been our goal. Talk to anyone in the industry, they're going to say you need some sort of content to be successful at DFS, and that is the truth. You need projections, you need ownership projections, you need some sort of content. There's just so much out there. Our goal, bring it to the table at the cheapest all in price, and continue to improve, continue to add on. Yeah, I mean, the price tags on some of these places, I mean, it's I'd say it's almost getting to the point where it's like price gouging. You really do
30, 40 bucks a week, some places, 30 bucks for just NFL a week.
Yeah. And that's, we'll never, one commitment we've made to our community is we'll never be at that range. And we're going to continue to add on and improve our product. And without saying too much, we have some very, very big things on the horizon. Very big things on the horizon. I'm going to leave it at that.
Ooh, I wonder what that is. I have no idea. But
very, very big thing.
Yeah, we'll keep that one under wraps. It's good, but I definitely think, in general, that was just my thing. Is always, like you said, I was looking for a place that had it all. We don't have it all yet. We have everything you need right now to have success. But when you talk about the new products coming out, optimizers, Sims, things like that. So I don't know what Hoop's talking about, but maybe he's talking about something. So Hoop, I want to go to you though on this game. Getting back to it, the Houston-Atlanta game. I think Title summed it up pretty good. I do have some interest in the Stroud side. It's a way to get different. You get Bijan just running that ball down their throat, speed that game up. And then Stroud coming back, it's only so many options you can roll with there. I know it feels weird picking between Woods and Dell and Collins and Schultz and guys like that, but price is right. So what's your thoughts on that one, Hoop?
The problem I have with this game, I guess, in general, is like what Atlanta wants to do and what they've been pretty successful doing this season. It's just making these ugly games. Like, just you look at the first game, 34 total points scored. They had a little bit of a back and forth with the Packers. 25-24 game that was, back and forth at the end kind of. Lions, 26 total points. Last week against the Jaguars, 30 total points scored. They're not a good team by any means, but they've been very successful at making these games ugly and nasty. They have their way today. It's going to be a Bijan Robinson day where he, has a big game, scores a couple touchdowns, and that is in the realm of possibilities. I do like Stroud. I think long-term he's going to be great. I do like some of these pass catchers. Nico Collins has been awesome. Tank Dell's been good. Robert Woods is cheap. Stroud's a guy, I'll be honest, I haven't decided on at this point. Like, I had him in yesterday, took him out this morning. Just got to see if it makes sense and how much of him I can get. Again, long term, I think the kid's the real deal. He looks phenomenal so far, and I do like his pass catchers today. But in terms of the full stack, haven't decided on that yet. And then on the Falcon side, just really hard to play anyone outside of Robinson. Pitt's at 3.3. I agree with title. He should be 1.3, not 3.3. Jonnu Smith has been better. The way they get there is obviously playing from behind. And then the issue with that is they still have Ritter throwing them the football, who might be the worst quarterback in the NFL. So 3.3 and 2.9 for Pitts and Smith in the player pool for sure. Bijan Robinson in the player pool. I mean, probably the top raw points running back today. Collins, Dell, Woods, think fine pass catchers, and then Stroud I do like. He's right there on the borderline for me today on whether or not I play him or not.
Do you have something else, Title?
No, I got nothing.
Okay. I was just gonna say, so Hoop, you can look up the member winner for the $100. I'll have a quick thing because we just hit 250. Let's get it. If we get to 500, we're giving away another $300. So keep that in mind. $100 more to another member, and then 100 to another random person, if not 200. Based on getting to the 500. But I will say another just sneaky secondary stack in this one. Probably people won't like it, but I just saw this one. Dameon Pierce getting his O-line back and healthy. They want to run the ball. They're going to at least try to. He's the opposite side of Bijan. I always like sometimes doing that. If the game script flips, it can definitely go that way. And then if you don't have to use Kyle Pitts, you could use Jonnu Smith, like somebody mentioned. If you want to go down, he's actually been getting the work at 2,900. So you could do something little like that if you want a secondary stack in there. But I definitely think there's a chance Dameon Pierce has a good day today at that price point. So just to see the O-line getting back and healthy, I'll mention that. You got the winner, Hoop?
Yeah, it's going to be our guy Jack Humphreys in the Discord talking this morning. He's at the game, the London game this morning. He's tailgating for that game, so wanted to give him an extra $100. Maybe he's already had a few too many drinks and he's not necessarily playing the main slate. But if that's the case, you can take that hundo and go buy a couple more beverages at the stadium. I'm sure they're expensive, so you might only be able to get 3 or 4. But we want to give you the $100 today. So Jack Humphreys is going to be the winner.
Awesome. Congrats to Jack. We'll look to do more giveaways. Let's keep those likes rolling. Title, Baltimore, Pittsburgh. Thoughts on this game?
Very low total. We're talking about games we can cross off. I think this is one of my favorite games to cross off. I do not like pretty much anything in this game, so I will let you guys talk about it. It's really just MME 150 stuff, and I don't think I'll have over 10% of any piece in this game. Defensive battle, division game. That's how I'm hoping / seeing it.
Yeah, I don't think Hoop's going to like it much either, but I'll say mine part right quick. Calvin Austin tried to make him work last week. I don't know, man, like 3,500. I think I have him in a few lineups. Zay Flowers and Pickens were the ones I had a bit of interest in. But again, then Baltimore has OBJ coming back, Bateman coming back, like all this stuff. At least I assume OBJ is going to be back from the reports. And then Pickens on the other side with Freiermuth down. That's why the guy earlier today when Mayo was on doing his thing was asking about Denzel Mims. They went and picked up Denzel Mims, not Marvin Mims, who we'll talk about later. I don't even know if he's going to be active today, but just a note, they went and picked him up. He used to play for the Jets, obviously, but Pickens at 5,200, maybe better FanDuel plays. I don't know, but defense.
He'd be my favorite too. If I had to pick one, it'd be Pickens too. Just hope you get that big. I mean, he has that big play upside. No Deontay, no Freiermuth, but yeah.
Yeah, our guy Nades mentioned it. This is why it's if you go look at the DVP, go check stuff out. We have that at shipitnation.com. But just to note it is like that's where the social media stuff where people are like, is Zay really the one? They've been trying to make him that way to start the season. Week 1, they had all those design plays for him, but now you do have it gets a little bit mucky with some of these guys coming back. My favorite play actually might be in this game. I'm saying Pittsburgh defense Hoop, just because it's going to be Lamar trying to get freaky now with these options coming back. That's when he starts to make mistakes. Sometimes it's him just trying to do his thing and run the ball. But I think there could be a spot here where if he tries to mix it up with some of these receivers coming back, that's where you could see mistakes be made. And these games are always tough division battles, and it's in Pittsburgh. So that makes it a little bit more interesting. Baltimore typically plays down to the team that they're up against. Your thoughts, Hoop, on this one?
Yeah, not an appealing game. Lowest total essentially on the slate. Kind Kelvin Austin, I'm fine with on DK in 150, just to add in some cheap options at the wide receiver position. So I'm fine with him over there. The running back position for the Steelers, like Najee Harris. I mean, Title, you throw the word cheeks around quite a bit. He literally might be the definition of cheeks. Like, he just is cheeks. Like, that should be in the dictionary, cheeks, and a picture of Najee Harris, because it just fits him so perfectly. Jalen Warren so much better, but they're never going to fully make that change. I do have some interest in Lamar on FanDuel at just really low ownership. He's going to be very, very cheap, and he's running the ball a ton. I mean, recently, let's see, 12, 14, 9 in the last 3 games. And, where the rushing touchdowns are more valuable on FanDuel, I don't mind going to him, pairing him maybe with Andrews or even Zay Flowers. But again, that's going to be more of FanDuel type plays, not DraftKings type plays. But yeah, this game overall, not very appealing.
I actually like that part you said, though, because the FanDuel angle, I like Pickens over there, and it's hard to on FanDuel. You need the tight end that's scoring touchdowns. Who's got the best chance besides Kelsey of getting? He's actually, I think, been the tight end 1 so far through 4 weeks. Is Mark Andrews? So even if you left Zay Flowers out of it and said he's more of like a pick up a big play guy, but on FanDuel the pricing's so soft, you could just go Lamar, Andrews, Pickens. Call it a
such
day.
A cheap. I mean, you're looking at 5% low or lower on all those guys. Like, there's upside there, a lot of upside. So I like a little bit on FanDuel for sure.
And fill it out with whatever you want at that point. So I don't hate that either.
Yes.
I'll stay with you with a better total game, Hoop, if you want to stick with it here. Philly, LA, lots to talk about in this one. Cooper Kupp back, ready to go. They say we'll see, but there's what do we do with Nakua now? Kieran Williams, does his shares go down based on that, or? How do you see this one playing out? So talk to us about this game, Eagles-Rams.
Yeah, I mean, the clear side is obviously the Eagles. Like, we know the guys there. Like, love Hurts today. I mean, probably the highest upside quarterback, probably one of the higher, him and Mahomes, the 2 highest projected quarterbacks. A.J. Brown has looked phenomenal. DeAndre Swift has looked really good. And then you have Devonta Smith, very similar. I view Devonta Smith very similar to Jalen Waddle at that price point, where no one's going to want to click that name. They're going to want to just get up to that next tier. Got the upside, low owned play. So, in on him. Goddard, I mean, he just has to have a game at some point, right? I mean, it just hasn't happened yet, but 4.2K, especially if you're involved in this game with a lot of teams, you want some exposure to Goddard. So Eagle side is very clear. Now, what you do with the Ram side is a little more difficult. And I kind of like the fact that Cooper Kupp's not coming into this slate with like a cheap price tag, like it's a 6K price tag because he's been injured. They got him right up there at 8.6. The ownership is going to be very low. There's a non-zero chance that he comes out fully healthy and resumes his big-time workload. There is many paths where that does happen. No one's going to want to play him at this price tag. And then, to go to the next level with Nakia and Atwell, they're priced, Nakia specifically priced up as if Cooper Kupp were to be out. So he's 7.7. I don't think many people are clicking that name. It's just a good spot for Stafford overall, adding this big weapon. He's only 5.6 on DK and like 6.8 on FanDuel, under 7K. In this game that has the second highest total on the slate, the Eagles had been looking for these big plays, so you could see some big back and forth in this game. The Rams side, you're looking at low ownership, I think, overall. Higbee as well, you can add to the mix. There's just a lot of plays in this game. A lot of plays that fit well with a back and forth type game script, high scoring type game script. The fact that Kupp's back leads me to believe that there's a better probability for a competitive game here, which is what we want when we're targeting fantasy pieces. So overall, I think this is a really good game. Kieran Williams is one guy I'll probably be out on. Rivers did indeed start to get a little more work last week, and there's a lot of really good running back plays. But yeah, we have options here for sure, a lot of options.
Yeah, Title, what's your thoughts when you think about that? The chat's talking about Kupp being a decoy. Nakua is 7,700, so it's not like he's cheap, but it makes you think about it, right? When you're like, 8,600 Kupp, 7,700 Nakua, and then like Swift looks to be getting a little bit, but I think because there's just so many other options, he'll get pushed down a little bit from even what ownership projections have him at. A.J. Brown, couple big games, so people are more in on him. But after that, it doesn't look like there's huge ownership here, besides Jalen Hurts getting some ownership at that spot. Give us your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, my thoughts is I love the Eagles side. The Rams side, which is Kupp back in action, and all the prices are still like Kupp's out. Like, I love Puka, but man, this price tag with now, is he the number 2? I mean, 1A, 1B, I guess we can look at it now. Cup's obviously always 1A, but Puka's been a beast. 7-7 is so hard to click that name right now with other options on the slate with cutback. Kyron Williams, Rivers got a lot more work. He's 6.7K. Again, tough matchup against the Eagles too. Great front seven, stuffs to run a lot. So someone mentioned it, Tutu Atwell. Now he's 3rd, 4th on the pecking list behind all these guys. That's a tougher click. I wouldn't be surprised if one of these Rams get there, but at their price tag, they all feel overpriced. I'd rather stay away from it. I won't have much. I guess Tyler Higbee at 4-1, going to be very, very low owned, is in absolutely nothing this year. If you want to get different and in Eagle stacks, like I love A.J. Brown, love Dallas Goedert. If you're not playing a Goddard, though, I think Higbee would be fine on the other way. Yeah, love Hurts. I mean, great matchup against the Rams. They're in a dome. It's been a pretty slow start for Hurts this year, but a lot of the games, they've just been able to run the ball and get 6-7 a pop every time and haven't had to drop back as much. Love Hurts. Love A.J. Brown. Smith is it's kind of like the Tua. I love Tua and Tyreek. Tyreek's going to be way higher owned than Waddle, though. If you want to get way different, you go to Waddle instead. Devontae Smith's the same thing. If people play Hurts, it's probably going to be with A.J. Brown. I like that better in a vacuum, but no one's going to play Devontae Smith if you want to pay up to be contrarian there with upside. I prefer, though, Goddard at tight end. I like DeAndre Swift's price tag at 6K, though. He's looked very good. He's in that running back range with the Montgomerys, the Mixons. He's not going to be low owned, but he's going to go overlooked, I think. So, yeah, it's mainly Hurts, A.J. Brown, Goddard, Swift, by far my favorite plays. If you want to go Devontae Smith to get different, fine. Higbee at tight end, I think, is interesting as a run back, too. Very low ownership. Other than that, though, Puka, Kupp, Kyron Williams, just a little too expensive with Kupp back. And a lot of unknowns, though, with Kupp coming back.
Yeah, and got to keep the likes going. We're only at 270 now. Got to get to 350 for the next giveaway. I'll bring this up. Anthony says 8.6. He's talking about Kupp. He's talking about the coach, McVay, talking about the Ron Burgundy interview where he's like, I'm just reading this off a teleprompter. He's like, obviously, this guy, if he's healthy, he's playing. We're just saying what they want us to say. That's the thing. So I actually am taking a much bigger stance on this game in the favor of playing it because I think there is so much uncertainty. I think that's leading to lower ownership. There's guys like Smith that are coming in under owned. I like Brown more, like Title said, but Smith even more on FanDuel. You can get him in over there. I know our guy Hamwich has interest for him too, but just in general, you got to take your shots when you can. This is a really good game, a really good spot. We could see some back and forth, and the prices are good. Here's the thing about Nacua for me too. Why would they stop going to this guy just because Kupp's back? Like, again, he's the example of maybe he doesn't get his 20 targets and it drops down, but he was doing those results with no Kupp. Now the defense has to account for Cooper Kupp. I mean, this guy should be wide open. He's very capable of getting open. If Stafford can get him the ball, that's really what it's going to come down to. But for your Hurts lineups to get there, you need those guys to do something on the other side. So keep that in mind. And if you want to go to the other side of the Hurts lineups, everything keeps spitting out that Stafford looks good, but any ownership projections I see don't seem to want to move there. It's kind of like what Hoop said earlier with Matthew Stafford. Very similar situations. Like they know the Detroit guys are good. We know there's Nacua. We know there's Kupp. We know there's Higbee. We know there's Atwell. We know there's options that just rack up PPR points. And so for me, that's what I want. We're talking majority DraftKings here, especially on there. Want to rack up those DraftKings points. So full PPR points. So I think all these guys are in play. I got a lot more interest in both sides of this game. And then you use the other games to fill in the pieces around it. Hoop, anything more to add on this one? We're aiming to get to 350 likes for the next giveaway. If not anything more on this one, you could talk about Cincy, Arizona.
Yeah, I mean, not too much else on this one. I mean, you know, the Kupp Nakia thing is interesting because you're taking a risk for sure because these are full price tags on these guys. I mean, full price tags. They're volume type guys. Either way, though, you're not probably playing them together because 8-6 for Kupp and Nakia 7-7, so you can play them in separate lineups. More, 150 type stuff. If I was hand building, I wouldn't go here for the 150 and stuff. Like I want a little bit of exposure. Bengals, Cardinals is another, I think, somewhat appealing game. You look at the Bengals side, no T. Higgins is going to leave opportunity, I think, for Jamar Chase to have a big game. Tyler Boyd, a little more for Irv Smith. Joe Mixon maybe gets a little more passing more. The thing about the Bengals, I mean, they've been bad, obviously, but Burrow at some point, that has to heal a little bit, has to start looking a little bit better. I mean, now we're talking a very consolidated, condensed offense here against the Cardinals. I think they have success here offensively. I'm going to take a chance on Burrow. I've done it most of the season. It obviously hasn't worked out. I'm going to take another chance on him today just because I love the other pieces. I love Chase. I love Boyd, Mixon, even Irv Smith. So definitely in on this Bengals side. And then on the Cardinals side, I think I'm in as well. Like you have pieces here. We have Dobbs, who's looked pretty damn good, and he's cheap. Marquise Brown has looked good. He's cheap. Paired up with this Michael Wilson guy a couple times last week. He's 3.7. You have the tight end in Ertz. Connor at running back. You just have options here. I think this game could easily go over, and a lot of it hinges on what Burrow is able to do. If Burrow is able to get this offense rolling a little bit, I think this game could go over the number here. I think we could potentially see a shootout in on both sides, and all the pieces are relatively cheap. The only premium price tag you're paying here is for Jamar Chase at 7.9, and he has the moon upside, obviously, that we're looking for. So I think this is a good game for fantasy purposes.
Yeah, and Title, we saw it in our stack rankings. Both these stacks popped up. Again, I think it's because of condensed offenses, or at least you kind of know where the ball is going or feel like you do. And then obviously the injury stuff, like with Higgins being out and Chase being only 7,900. Again, he'll be popular, but it's not who you play. It's how you play him. How can you fit him in to your roster? So talk to us your thoughts on how you want to play this game.
It's one of my favorite games on this slate, but I'm liking it more as the skill position players than throwing the quarterbacks in with the stacks. I don't hate Burrow. I don't hate Dobbs or his other quarterbacks. I rather at the price tags though. But the one-off pieces, we'll start on the Bengals, like Jamar Chase with no Higgins here, with how bad they've been to start. Burrow has said he's felt as healthy as he has all year though. Wasn't even on the injury report, practice all week, which is nice to see. But man, it feels like this could be a 20 target game for Chase. Just he was complaining. He was open. He wasn't getting the ball. They're going to try and get him in space, quick passes. Feels like a great. He's underpriced. He's going to be popular, so I'm not breaking any news to you, but it really feels like a smash spot for Chase. Joe Mixon at 6'4". Like, I prefer Chase to Mixon. Just so tilting. He runs into his own lineman half the time. He definitely has that breakout upside. He's almost has an every down role. Now without T. Higgins, he could catch some passes too. The price is good at 6'4", but I'm all in on the Chase game here. A lot of people talking about Tyler Boyd and stuff. Irv Smith, I think, is interesting at tight end. Yeah, I'm good with them for sure, but I'm making the stance. This is a Jamar Chase game, so I'm lowering the rest of the Bengals a bit. They're going to come in pretty high owned. As far as the Cardinals side, I mean, Hollywood Brown at 5K, Marquise Brown, that is his real name. Dobbs just looks at this guy all the time. They're going to be trailing or playing from behind, you'd expect. He looks really good and has so much upside at that price tag. So one of my favorite receivers on the slate, and because I like a lot of Chase Brown skinny stacks are appealing to me. Zach Ertz, I mean, man, we keep talking about this guy every single week, but the targets are there. 3K. Dobbs looks at him as well. The second highest targets on the slate or for the Cardinals is Zach Ertz, appropriately priced at a bad position in the game I like. Sign me up. And again, I said Irv Smith on the other side. Athletic guy. I think they're going to have to use him more without T. Higgins in the middle of the field too. I like both tight ends in this game. James Conner I'm fine with as well. 5.8K. Not a hard lean at 10-15%. I think he comes in about. I plan on being somewhere around there. The last piece, even though I am liking, it sounds like Burrow's getting healthier. I like this game. I'm still going to be playing some Cardinals defense in case Burrow is a statue back there. Cardinals D, and they played up to expectation, offense and defense so far this year. They've been competing. Yeah, Burrow's not 100% right. Cardinals defense has a lot of upside to get after the quarterback. So how I break it down, Chase by far my favorite. Hollywood Brown by far my favorite on the Cardinals side. I think Irv Smith and Zach Ertz are good at tight end. Both running backs, Mixon, Connor in play. I think they're fine. I prefer the pass catchers, though. Cardinals D definitely has some interest.
Yeah, I just got an update. I thought it was going to be about Tua, some issues there, but he looks okay. So we'll see. They just showed him on the field early. Go ahead, Hoop.
Oh, yeah. I mean, a lot of the more popular plays on the slate are in the afternoon. So, I mean, don't get too comfortable after the 1 p.m. Eastern games because there's a lot of ownership in these afternoon games. That's a good point by Black Mass Media.
Yeah, and late swap options too. We talked a lot about that on the course. Of course, when we put it together, Hoop, you get this course free when you sign up. I'm seeing a lot of signups coming right now. Again, remember, if you're signing up for the monthly, 6-month, annual, anything like that, use promo code MAYO to get 10% off. But just to note it here, this was something we talked a lot about, Hoop, where the late swap is a factor. It's even bigger when we get to NBA. But for NFL, that's an option. And today, with all these good games in the afternoon, Philly, LA, Cincy, Arizona, like for me, I think Cincy, Arizona probably gets the most popularity because of these condensed offenses and people worrying a little bit about Philly, LA, KC, Minnesota. We're going to get to in a second, but just talking through that one, there's oftentimes a little harder to pinpoint the spots in these Mahomes games. But just to say it, if you're behind, you may want to move to some of these other games, maybe even the Jets-Denver game, which we'll go into next. I was going to say just here, both sides, quarterbacks, the Dobbs side definitely have a lot more interest in. I like Marquise Brown. If you want to go with Ertz, that's fine. I also like Michael Wilson, though, as a pivot away and just to use up my spots. I talk about this in the past for roster construction. If you want to go Dobbs with Marquise Brown and Michael Wilson and run it back with Chase, and then you can still go to these other running backs and get away from Mixon there or use Mixon instead of Chase. I'm just saying I like using up the 3 wide receiver spots on one game with the full stack because not a lot of people do that. Again, another one that you can get away with in a lot of places, but especially in higher dollar, smaller fields where people just have to play the better values. They can't get away from those and they have to commit to what those are. And I'm just fine saying that if this, then that. Obviously, Michael Wilson seems a lot riskier than a Wan'Dale Robinson and costs $700 more. But then you go and look at the stats on what he's actually put up. 26, 11, 9. He's been having great games and it's $700 more, but he fits that game stack. We saw a lot of winners last week when we did our review show, Nades and I going through that. We've seen Michael Wilson on these winners, by the way, too, but we saw a lot of people play Braxton Berrios in the Miami Buffalo game last week. And why? It's just because he fit the stack. He was a cheap piece that went in and he made sense for the game that they were stacking up. I like your call title on the Arizona D here. I think that's an interesting place that you can go. And then Tyler Boyd, the chat said it here. He's going to go for 20 or something. I think they see. Tyler Boyd goes for 20, chalk it down. Yeah, I said on the Mayo show, I think he sucks. But obviously injury now has changed it with, Higgins being out and all that. He's definitely a guy that's going to go within my stacks at just 4,500. But it is crazy. 6, 8, 11, 3, 6, 3, 5, 10, 5. Like there's been chances for this guy to have these big games. I don't know where people think it's coming from. At 4,500 though, with injury, I understand it. So we can move on. Jets, Denver title. I'm going to go to you. Zach Wilson game. What do we got here? What are we doing with this one?
If it's a Zach Wilson game, I probably will not be at the top of the leaderboard. I'm hoping for a Breece Hall game. Finally, the pitch count, snap count is off. Robert Saleh said about Breece Hall. Dalvin Cook, I don't know if he aged 10 years over the offseason, but he looks completely awful. I mean, I don't know how they just don't let Breece Hall go get all the work. And if that's the case, 5.4K is way underpriced for his talent, for his role, everything. So I'm buying in on Breece Hall. I'm hoping that Robert Saleh is saying the snap count off is actually true, buying into some coach speak. But, I mean, Dalvin just looks that bad. I don't think they really have a choice. Outside of that, yeah, nobody really on the Jets. Garrett Wilson, I guess. Good price at 6K. I mean, Zach Wilson looked a little better. My buddy who's sitting by me, a little Zach Wilson fan too. However, man, his first look is always Garrett Wilson. And if Garrett Wilson isn't open, he tries to scramble, he gets sacked, or he throws it away. So because he's looking at Garrett Wilson every time as a first read, I guess I can take a shot at 6K. Surtain's a little scary, but I mean, we talked about the Tyreek Hill situation. I'll be playing some Garrett Wilson at 6K. I think it's a good price. Really only Breece and Garrett there. As far as the Denver side, yeah, we have to monitor Javonte Williams. So it's the only piece of news that we're waiting on, and it's in the afternoon game. Really, I mean, it changes some stuff, I guess. Like, so they have Samaje Perine. I don't really think you'd really get them. Jaleel McLaughlin's the guy that was getting a good amount of work and looked pretty good. Do we need it on a main slate? I don't know. I think it's more something to monitor in the afternoon. If he's out, McLaughlin, you can get some of him, maybe mix in some Perine. Main slate, probably don't have to really worry about the running back room. Cortland Sutton's definitely my favorite. Kind of what I said about Garrett Wilson. I mean, man, Russ is definitely favorite target. Is Cortland Sutton there? Could get the Sauce Gardner treatment if you are scared of wide receiver cornerback matchups. Maybe you don't want to go there. I don't look into it as much, though, with the rapport they have, the price at 5.4K for Sutton, good PPR players. So really just Breece, Garrett Wilson, Cortland Sutton, pick off the 3 best skill position players in this one for me.
Yeah, I like that breakdown, Hoop. If the chat would get as fired up for the like button as they would for Zach Wilson takes, like just going off here. Jets D versus this, going to smack Peyton in the mouth. We got this full 5-man stack if you want to run it back.
It's Broncos D time now. Now that it's not Zach Wilson, it's Broncos D. That's what I'm on now.
Anyway, you can break this one down, but I wanted to say, well, we're almost at 300 likes, guys, 550 plus watching. So When we get to 300 likes, it's the second member giveaway. This is the one Drea's paying forward. We always go random member, random at the end. Though we will still do the random one at the end, but you got to get to 500 likes to double it up. So another $100 coming up at 300 likes after Hoop breaks this game down. But Hoop, talk to us about the second last game we've got here, the Jets and the Broncos.
Yeah, mostly agree. Like Zach Wilson, he did look better in that game. There's no doubt about it. I mean, he was a disaster prior to that Chiefs game. Looked much better. What does that mean for this offense? Garrett Wilson, I'm fine with him at 6K. Like Alan Lazard, if you want to throw him in as a cheap option, sure, go for it. But I'm with title. It's like Breece Hall. Like they said, I mean, Dalvin Cook has looked like dog shit. There's no denying that. This week, they say the pitch count's gone. Shouldn't be all his work. I think he's a phenomenal play at 5'4". Garrett Wilson's fine. Alan Lazard for a cheap option. On the Broncos side, if Williams is ruled out, yeah, McLaughlin would be the guy. Do we need it on this slate? I agree with title. I don't know at this point. Can you look for some pivots if he is ruled out? Yeah, but if Williams is in, I think you just ignore this entire situation. If he's out, maybe some McLaughlin here. Sutton is the guy that Russ likes going to. He's 5'4". The price is cheap. Be cool going to him. But, I mean, for me, the main piece is definitely going to be Breece Hall. Not overly excited about anything else really in this game. This is the one afternoon game that's not all that appealing.
Yeah, we'll say a couple things quick. One, just a trick you can do if you want to put Javonte Williams into your lineups and leave $300, you can do that and be able to swap to Pacheco, who we're about to talk about in a second, if you want to do it that way. Or there is other options there that you can just drop down to. Breece Hall is the same price. You can just move it over in that game if you weren't already. You're probably not playing both. Some are, but I'm saying if you weren't, that would be an easy swap. So you can look at that. Even if you have Breece Halls that you want to swap to Javonte later, that could be a way if you're behind because Hall will be way higher owned. McLaughlin, like they said, you could just drop down and leave the $400 on the table. But this guy here got me fired up, man. It's a Zach stack day. And then he says, Zach, this stack is like, what's the difference between going Dobbs, Marquise Brown, Ertz, and something else like that, Michael Wilson, and just going with Zach Wilson, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, Conklin? You can run it back with Mims. I don't actually hate that. I've got some Zach Wilson stacks, but that one just fired me up a little bit more to think about it because that is cheap. If you think they can rack it up, I just think your day might just wrap it up early. Yes, that's what I was. Yeah, that came out, so that might be the answer there. So we'll move on. We'll go to KC, Minnesota. Hoop still didn't get the 300 likes, so we'll wait on that money. But title, I'm going to go to you. KC, Minnesota, final game of the day. It's the second of the afternoon. The four game slate on the afternoon split up between the 4:05 and the 4:25. So give us your thoughts on KC, Minnesota.
Yeah, I think you hinted a little earlier, one of those guys on the stack rankings you never play that you might play today. I like me some Patrick Mahomes. I think that's who you're talking about. Yeah. And why I like it is I love Travis Kelce today, and it's kind of back. One of the first points you made on this is like tight end so bad, all this. Like you can throw a Smythe in, and we mentioned you can throw a Dalton Schultz in with CJ Stroud. Punting tight end and throwing it in with your quarterback's always a thing because tight end position so gross. Sometimes you can win with a 4 or 5. So I just love getting all in, or not all in by any means, but I love jamming Kelce at the tight end spot just because he has that potential to absolutely end the slate. If you don't have Kelce, you have no chance at winning. He's one of the few people on this slate that can do it, just given the position and all that. Sign me up for Kelce, and I like Mahomes too. Easy pairing right there. I find just pairing those two in a dome, 20.5 team total. Vikings should have points on the other side. I'm expecting a lot of points here. So love Mahomes, love Kelce. Outside of him, yeah, you mentioned Pacheco. I think he's totally fine at 5'7", going to get lost a little bit in that range. Rashee Rice is the only other receiver. He's been getting the biggest bump as of late, runs a lot of routes in the slot, 3.6K. I think he's fine in that Wendell Robinson, Raymond, all of that punt range to get different there. But Kelce, Mahomes for sure. As far as the Viking side, best receiver in football, the Jets, you can always play them. Jets, Kelce, Mahomes. It is very expensive. I don't know how many lineups I'll have like that. But you can maybe make it worse with some Lions value and stuff. Hawkinson at the tight end position too. If you don't go Kelce, that 1,100. I think Kirk Cousins, Hawkinson stacks, maybe Jefferson stacks are very nice as well. But those are my main targets. Both tight ends on both sides. Justin Jefferson as always. Pacheco, Madison, both the same price, both pretty low owned in that range. If you want to get different, Rashee Rice is good there too. But yeah, love me some Kelce.
Yeah, I usually don't play Mahomes stacks, Hoop, but this is a week where I just felt you can get there easily. I feel a little more comfortable about it. Like, again, you've got Rice, Kelsey. I'm not going too crazy and trying to mix all these guys in. Like, Rice has been getting a ton, even in the red zone. They've been using him a bunch. Like at 3,600, he's just another value play that I can see with a floor and potential ceiling. So we'll have to see. But for me, that's the big interest in it, because it's really hard to get like Mahomes, Jefferson, Kelsey. The way I'm getting Jefferson action is through playing Pacheco and then just getting Jefferson to rack up PPR on the other side. I do like that mini stack as well when not getting to Mahomes. So Mahomes is not the highest up my list. I made sure in the slate plan I put a little disclosure there and why, but in general, I said I may swear him off forever, which I probably should. I get excited with some of these other stacks on here already, but we'll see what happens today. Give us your thoughts on this one. Who final game of the day?
Yeah, mostly in agreement. Like, I'm in on the Mahomes stuff. Him to Kelsey for sure, him to Rice for sure. But it's hard to those other pass catchers. Like, who the hell knows? And no one's done anything. Rice is clearly the one that has at this point the most upside. One of these wide receivers at some point is going to break a slate. Like, there's just no doubt about it. But it is tough to choose who it's going to be. So Mahomes to Kelsey, Rice is fine. Pacheco, I think, is a great running back option. We saw him more involved in the passing game last time out, which is very, very encouraging. You can put him in Mahomes type teams as well. On the Minnesota side, I really like TJ Hawkinson. I mean, that price tag, I think at 6.5K, a lot of people just find a way up to Kelsey or come down a little bit. Hawkinson has the, a double-digit catch upside, which is huge. And then if he finds the end zone, it's potentially full smash. Jefferson, if you can get there, you have the other options, Osborne, Addison, okay plays. And then Madison at running back, I think is fine. Part of these like game stack type things. It's a good game. The highest total on the slate for sure. A lot of options. It is expensive type stuff here, though. I mean, you're talking Mahomes is the most expensive quarterback. Kelsey's the most expensive tight end. Hawkinson, second most expensive tight end. Jefferson, the most expensive wide receiver. So it is expensive here if you want the key pieces, but I definitely want to be a part of this one. 53-ish total. Could be a nice little back and forth game.
Yeah, throw your guys' questions in the chat. We'll have a few minutes after this. We'll break a few more things down. This is one I'll bring up. Our guy BMM. Appreciate the support, but this is what I'm saying about these Mahomes things. We always do it. If you had to guess what Watson's best, I'll give you this. His best is 9.7 in like the last 20 games, DraftKings points. All his games are like 1 to 3 points, and we always are waiting for the sneaky spot or it's going to be hit. Like if it's him, that's great. But I would honestly go bet an anytime touchdown on him then and just pound your money in on that. Chuck $200 on it, and that's how you get paid off.
Or showdown.
Yeah,
they got showdown for a bunch of contests.
For sure. Like that's what I'm saying, because he might end up getting a 40-yard touchdown finally, breaking his 9.7 record over the last 20 games of DraftKings points, of finally hitting double digits and still not end up anywhere near a winner, because you still need everything else to go right with it. We talk about that all the time. Michelle definitely mentioned this earlier, like the Pittsburgh defense. Like I said, I think Lamar could try and get a little bit sneaky. He also, spoiler alert, we showed our stack rankings earlier. I like the FanDuel angle we talked about, because if he's going to get there, I want to pay off in that way. But even on DraftKings with some of the pricing and stuff, it may not be that way. But Title, wanted to ask you this. Our member and guy, Lay the House RM, he said he tunes in for all the cash stuff. This week, we did the show a day earlier just from some scheduling stuff. Thinking about some cash thoughts, 2 tight ends in cash, and then any other cash strategy or overview thoughts that you had for this slate in general.
Yeah, the stories, injuries, a lot of Lions with all the injury, with no Amon-Ra, with no Gibbs. Lions are mispriced. Talked about that a lot on the show. As far as 2 tight ends, I always try to avoid it. I'm looking at a couple this week. I don't think you need it as much. My plan right now is I'm not, but there's a couple good tight ends that stand out. There's only a couple of tight ends in play. Got one up in the cash report. You can check all that up on the site. Right now, my answer is I don't prefer 2 tight ends, but if you love your lineup, I definitely think it's in play. I've seen a couple of builds that I'm good with it.
Yeah, and I'm seeing that. And the chat just brought this up too, I guess, quick on this one too, Title. Khalif Raymond. He asked for Hoop actually, sorry, at the end, but just both of you then. Khalif Raymond, 3,300, right?
Yeah, he'll be expensive. He'll be highly owned. A lot of people are going to play him, but man, like they just don't have many options. And he's already been a part of this offense. He's already been a guy that's involved. And now you eliminate a volume monster in Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's going to be out there doing a lot. So yeah, definitely like him.
Yeah, Jonnu Smith are talking about the Hawk Kelsey double tight end could be a way to do it. That one at least has some interest because you could get into your game stacks that way and build it up.
They're like two receivers. I mean, they definitely could get there.
Yeah. That's one I could see happening. And that's more even as like a secondary stack. The one thing about Kelsey, I will say, this is why I've kind of got forced into it, is at 7,600 with this slate, the way the dynamics of it are, if he has a big game, Mahomes has to be attached. Like, it's just going to happen. So that's where, again, I feel a little more strongly than I normally do. It could go horrible, but that's just the way I'm thinking of it, at least, just to see it. Hoop, anything else you had for these questions or anything else you were thinking of there?
No, I mean, a lot of stuff about the Lions, and I mean, they're going to be a lot of Lions are in play today. They're going to be some of the higher owned options on this slate, and it is what it is. I mean, make your decisions based on that. The ownership's following along with those guys, so I'm fine getting overexposed to the spot, but I can understand if you want to look for pivots. But a lot of Lions questions. Josh Reynolds, I think, is fine. He fully practiced on Friday. I think he's good to go.
Yeah, I like the Reynolds call there too. Title, any final thoughts from you before we get out of here?
No, I think we covered it pretty well. The content on the site gets updated. It's a fun slate. I think there's options, pay up options for stacking. There's pay down quarterback options for stacking. Where ownership's going to go. We have ownership up on the site as well, but little pieces that get different here and there. 12-game slate, a lot of dome games, nothing to worry about for weather. I think we broke it down well. I'm excited for this slate.
Mayo's in here banned someone. He was going on a tangent earlier. He got back to his roots. It's probably because we haven't been doing the live shows on Friday when we record. It's a recording, obviously. It's not a live show. So he was in his bag today. He had the tricks. People were loving it. The chat was in there. So got to ask good questions or relate it to something that he's actually talking about if you want to do it. I banned some bots for you. I banned one guy dropping some racial slurs. We had a few things that we had to ban today, so you might have missed it at the beginning. Hoop, anything else you wanted to add from a Ship It Nation perspective before I take us home?
Yeah, I mean, all the content up, and we always talk about that we pride ourselves on early and available content. Everything's typically up for the most part Saturday night, with changes coming in Sunday morning. They'll all be highlighted in yellow, but we want to give you guys the opportunity to start digesting everything earlier in the process, opposed to right up to lock. So everything's up, ready to roll. Probably some minor changes, but everything's pretty locked in over there.
All right, we need a $100 member winner, and then title. If you can work on a $100 random winner, I'm going to show off some stuff quickly before we get out. We got 2 minutes left before our usual 90 minutes is up. But just like Hoop said, guys, if you want to get over there, and Mayo's in the chat, use that promo code Mayo, gets you 10% off. I'll show you in a second, but just to break it down, we'll have all the stuff for Showdown tonight. You can check that out while you're watching the Mayo Show, 7:15 Eastern Time, Sunday Night Live. I'll be there next week on that show with him. I'm going to head over and watch some football and then hop on that show in the evening. But we've got the projections, ownership. We've got the core report, the player pool, the slate plan. Here we've got Rio doing the first look, projections, ownership, GPP and cash, titles, cash plays. If you want to get into the cash game streets, definitely a way to do it. Like I said, just lock those guys in, use the projections for the values. You watch this show, you watch him and Hoop on the cash show. Player pool, slate plan. We went through the stack rankings and showed it off earlier. Show it again. Quick fix here just to give you guys some of it. Go back over here. Someone can pause it and go back and find the real thing. But this is the big part. When you go to the site, go to Join the Nation. No matter what, use promo code Mayo. You do get a special deal when you convert from the 5-day trial over to the monthly. So you get a savings there. So use promo code Mayo. Use it for the monthly, 6-month, annual, whatever you want to do. The prices are extremely low compared to the rest of the industry when you consider projections for everything. NFL, MLB, NBA, PGA, MMA, NHL, all of this stuff coming into play. Hoop, you got a winner for us, man? A member winner for the final $100.
Yeah, it's going to be our guy, Kevlar87, very active member of the Ship It Nation community, always in the chat, talking with people. So he'll be the winner of the $100 giveaway for our members.
Yeah, shout out to Kevlar. Awesome guy. Get him set up with that $100. He can reach out in the Discord. And then title, you can pop it up on the screen there if you've got it. The final random winner.
It was as random as it gets. It was a random scroll, popped on Hundo, Mitchell. And guess what, Mitchell? You probably aren't in London, but you do get a Hundo yourself, I think is the giveaway we're doing. But tell me if I'm wrong, Tambo.
No, you're right. That's right. I'm just trying to go back and find a lot of comments today. We appreciate the engagement. Obviously didn't get the likes to where we wanted, but we talk about it. We'll give away more money when we do. So you can come in, hit that like button, help us out. It's always good. I was trying to find it here because I know who Mitchell is. Shout out to my guy, Mitchell. Fired up. It's a Zach stack day. He might be wasting this 100 very quickly, but
I wish I saw that. Wasting the 100 I gave him. Shake my head.
I'm in. I like it. I'm very interested in that. That's going to do it for this one, guys. We appreciate you all joining us. We know there's a lot of good shows out there on Sunday, but we appreciate you joining this one. Try and give you guys as much information as possible to get you set up for the slate. If you want to use the site and get over there, go to shipitnation.com. Promo code MAYO gets you 10% off. That's going to do it for this one, though. For Title, for Hoop, for myself, ToeTagginTambo. Let's ship it!